Well, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Cindy Tevens. I'm author of Alchemy, How to Feel Good No Matter What, and The Happiness Lie, What Generations Have Been Told That Makes You Unhappy. And there's been a lot of lies we've been told. So I found out accidentally, dramatically, but it was a good thing because it freed me from all the lies and resulted in joy and bliss just beyond my possible imaginings. Welcome, everybody. My name is Cindy Tevens. I'm author of Alchemy, How to Feel Good No Matter What, and The Happiness Lie, What Generations Have Been Told That Makes You Unhappy. And there's been a lot of lies we've been told. So I found happiness lies accidentally, dramatically, but it was a good thing because. So I'm here today with David Fishman, who is co-founder of One Mind Foundation, and I consider him to be an authority on ACIM, and he knows the material so well. It's part of his heart and soul, and it comes out quite eloquently at times, so I'm very pleased to have him here. Once again, I'm getting an echo, which is a bit of a challenge. And I'm going to close a few things down. There it is. Ah, peace and quiet. Nobody here's ever had that experience where thoughts just would go on and on like an echo. A pointless, useless echo in your mind, and you just think, oh, I could just shut that down. Well, the good news is you can. You absolutely can. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, a bit about that, a bit about forgiveness, because this is about, in the bigger picture, easy forgiveness, 101, part 3. And we're going to talk today about, what is forgiveness? Why do we need it? And actually, I'm going to propose that we don't need it. But we'll get into that in a minute. I'd just like to introduce David and let him come on here and maybe give his take on forgiveness. So you're muted there, Dub. I'm just going to unmute you, or you're going to have to unmute you. Yeah, you got to unmute. There we go. Yeah, you're not muted. I mean, you're not unmuted yet. No sound. There we go.
Okay. Am I on?
You're on.
Okay. Cindy, thank you so much for inviting me here to co-host with you on this Forgiveness Made Easy. I personally feel that it really depends on where you are on the path. For some who have been on the path for some time, forgiveness is easy because you have repeated that same process over and over, and you have trained your mind to begin to see the illusion very quickly and kind of laugh. Like I call it laughter therapy, because you see that you've given meaning to the meaningless, and you can actually laugh at yourself. You're watching yourself really taking something seriously, and as soon as you catch yourself doing that, then basically you already start laughing and say, no, I'm not doing that again. And so forgiveness does really feel easy when you can actually watch yourself doing these things. I think until you are at that place where you can actually watch yourself, practicing forgiveness still is important for anyone who's really starting out on the path. They have to begin to recognize the value of forgiveness. Because without forgiveness, without it, they're really locked in. They're locked into a prison of their own making. And when you say prison of your own making, nobody is going to say, well, I built a prison for myself, and I'm going to be the jailer and the jailee and the judge and the jury and the execution. No, nobody says that. But that's really what happens when we make a judgment. Whenever we judge, and this is not even judging another. You can even be judging yourself as I'm not good enough, I'm not adequate, others are better than me. You stay trapped in that thought system, which is really a judgment. The judgment stays with you for as long as you let it stay there. Only your forgiveness will set you free. Your condemnation, which is your contempt for another or for yourself, that you're not good enough, you know, that's fine. You can hang out there, and people hang out there, you know, for a whole lifetime. But people, whether you're doing a Course in Miracles or they're taking a course from you, Cindy, it's really the exact same thing. They're beginning to realize that they are doing this to themselves. And yes, they can undo it because, first of all, they've taken responsibility. No one has done this to them. No one. And I think that that's really one of the most powerful things that I've gotten from the Course, is that I'm not at the effect of what goes on in the world. As the Course says, this is a course in cause and not effect. And Lessons 31 and 32 says, I'm not a victim of this world. I invented this world. You know, you have to realize that yeah, we've actually asked for this, and everything that seems to happen, we have really asked for. I know a lot of people say, please don't insult my intelligence. I would never ask for this. But we don't see the defenses that we build trying to protect ourselves from others, protect ourselves even from God, which is really the same thing. And what we do is we build these walls, and these walls actually contain us. And these walls are really judgments, who I can be with, who I can't be with. And of course, you know, the people that can really help us in this are the people that we probably have judged against, because they're going to show up in our life over and over. Even if we move away, go to another country, it doesn't matter. You're going to find the same person. Oh yeah, they're going to have different color hair. They're going to have different eyes, different this, different that. It's going to be the same thing because you're really looking at yourself. You really judge, put yourself in a corner. You painted yourself in a corner, and you say, "Well, I can't be like that." Well, whatever you can't be like shows up in your life. And I think that I see you smiling, Cindy, so I'll let you take the mic and share at this point for sure. Go ahead.
Thanks, David. Yeah, I could listen to you for hours probably. It's I'm laughing because, of course, you're right, and you know, but I've been there where I would never believe what you're saying, and you know, I'm so certain that somebody else did something to me, and that's why people have what I call a laughter realization, is that they realize that it's been an error, and not only you know, didn't it happen the way they thought it happened, but they did it, as you say. And so then there's this kind of caught you with your hand in the cookie jar kind of thing. And it's good to have a laughter because it makes it very digestible. And so, you know, when you say also this world, you know, I asked for it, I created it. Some people might think, what do you mean, like the universe? Like, you know, I like to really point out that everybody lives in their own little mental, psychological world. And so there's one Earth, but there's, you know, what are we now, 8 billion? There's 8 billion worlds living in this Earth. There's no wonder they clash, you know, and they all have needs and wants and fears and blame and guilt. And because of that sense of separation, or that belief in separation, actually there's a lot more to prove that we're not separate than there is to prove that we are separate. But because of that, then people, you know, feel afraid. And so fear manifests itself in blame, in guilt, in attack. And that is completely optional. This is how pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional. It's completely self-created, as you say. We put ourselves in the cage with the door wide open. So, yeah, it's this belief that we have been transgressed, that somebody has done something to us. And that always comes in the form of a thought. There'll be some thought about something that happened. And without the thought about the thing that happened, there's no problem. It's just whatever is. But as soon as we come in and put meaning in, and we do this, again, because of fear, because there's this idea that we need to protect ourselves, then now we have to blame. We end up blaming, then we attack, and of course we know where that goes. nowhere good. So I call these thoughts that people have mind reads. Actually, I didn't. It's not my invention. I'd make it up. It's a neuro-linguistic programming thing. And a mind read is claiming to know what someone else is thinking or experiencing what their state is. So if they're angry or happy or whatever they are, sarcastic. And these mind reads are always getting us in trouble. Always. What happened to me a long time ago when I learned about them, I went around just watching them, watching myself and watching these mind reads that came up. And I noticed, to my horror, that they were happening constantly. It was just everywhere I went, there was a little comment. This person did that because of that. And, a lot of them seem harmless. They may be harmless, but the habit is not. Ooh, I'm getting a lot of noise. Are you? It sounded like a train came in. Did you get that?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Okay. I think it's gone. So, yeah, I was saying that a lot of these mind reads may seem irrelevant or harmless, but it's the habit of mind reading and believing in your mind reads that is not harmless. And if you realize that there is this habit in place, you can actually kick the habit. It would be one of the best habits you could ever kick. Because it doesn't only go on about other people, it goes on about yourself. So you have mind reads about yourself, which is really kind of twisted when you think about it, but it's what people do. And that's how they start attacking themselves as well. So what happened with me was I went around when I was, shocked that I was just doing this constantly. And then I was horrified that almost all the time the mind reads were negative. They were always bad. And I thought to myself, well, geez, if I'm going to mind read something, negative, why don't I mind read something positive? And so whenever I noticed a negative mind read, I switched it over into a positive one. And I found that I was having a heck of a lot of fun. And everybody around me was having feedback. The chopper has landed. Yeah, and that everybody else around me was having fun too. So that was my one of the great learnings that I had about the functionings of the mind, and I know and I knew that I wasn't the only one doing it, that everybody was doing it, because now that I was watching my own, I started to notice other people's, and I noticed how they could be so completely wrong, and still not be able to see the truth, and this shocked me. So even if somebody was really upset with me because they were believing something about what I did, and I show them, the black and white in your face truth that this is not true, it can't be true because of this, they still suffered. They still didn't believe me. And so what I, sort of came to figure out was when you're in a bad state, in an unconscious bad state, you cannot see truth. You have constricted and contracted your powers of attention down into such a tiny existence that you can't see anything else. And you believe it so much that you won't see anything else. And so when I learned that we could actually shift our state first, even though we can't see the truth, we can't see anything else, we do see our pain. Eventually, at some point, we see our pain. And that pain can wake you up and say, hey, chop, chop, wake up. What are you believing here? And what's the present thought? Don't think about it to concoct something else, but just what is here now? What's present here now? And you can take that noticing, that gift, and shift your state before you do any more thinking. All you need to do is notice the present thought, that's fearful or judgmental or whatever it is, like he hurt me. Notice that thought, that it's that thought that hurts. It's that thought that you're contracting on. It's that thought that blinds you. And turn that around. So, he was rude. Well, okay. No, what do I want? He was polite. Okay. How does him being polite feel? And this happens so fast for me now, I rarely do it anymore, but it happens so fast that I see instantly that it was me being rude, thinking that he was rude. You see, the rudeness existed in me. It never existed in him. And, even if it did exist in him, even if someone did intend to hurt you or be rude or something. What they say or do can't hurt us. What they say or do hurts them. It's their own inner guidance system that's telling them, chop, chop, wake up. What are you putting your power of attention on? What are you believing in? What mistake have you made? Choose again. And I'll let you comment on the choose again, because I know you know about that.
Okay. Choose again. I'm glad that I heard in the middle of what you were sharing, the idea of being right at the expense of someone else's wrong. I have actually, in my life, seen that quote, do you want to be right or you want to be happy? Choose one. You can't have both. It's actually repeated 3 times in the Course in Miracles. He doesn't want you to miss it. So really, the real choice in choosing is, do you want to remember your natural, happy self, or do you want to be right? That's what's really going on here. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? Choose one. He says you can't have both. Now, the reason he says you can't have both is in a world of oneness where there is no one else out there other than I and the Father are one. You're really either saying to your Father, I'm right and you're wrong, which is pretty much what right wrong is about. Father, I think that you're wrong. Look at what you did, and I can do a better job. And that is pretty much, when we said we invented the world, you're absolutely right. We didn't invent, quote, the universe, but we live in our own little world. We live in our own little world. There's some worlds that are totally accepting, and as Byron Katie says, acceptance now ends all suffering. So if I'm accepting what God has given to me and I'm grateful for it, I am happy. But if I don't like the cards that are dealt to me, and I say, people don't really talk to God this particular way, but they find other people like their mother, their father, their sister, their brother, their teacher, maybe the last relationship they had. You made me, or you did this to me, and if you didn't do it the way that you did it, I would be happy. And that's really what we're really saying. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? So for me, the judgment that I'm making is really upon myself, that I am right. You might say I am becoming an elitist. I am right, others are wrong. So my path is the right path. Others, I don't know what path you're on, but whatever path, I don't really think is as good as mine. And once you're into that comparison mode, and the ego lives by comparison, it thrives on comparison.
Yeah.
In unity or in union or in oneness, there is no comparison. You can't compare apples and oranges because they're all apples. There's no oranges. But in duality, which is a world that we made a world that, I think that I have my own private thoughts, and you have your own private thoughts, and I ask you, what your thoughts are, and if you say something that I don't agree with, well, I'm going to tell you how right I am and how wrong you are. There's very few egos that always say, oh yeah, you're right and I'm wrong, because the ego has to win in order to get your loyalty. Because if the ego was always wrong, you wouldn't be listening to it. Remember, the ego is really not something separate and apart from you, really. The ego is the voice that you think is your own voice that's speaking to you. So of course you're going to be saying, well, my way of doing things is better than your way, and I'm going to tell you how much better my way is. And those are the power struggles that we get into. Once you're in that power struggle, you're actually planning the next thing I'm going to tell this person. You're thinking of the last conversation you had, and you never really hear being happy. You never hear it in the present love of being happy without carrying the past into the present, so you don't really enjoy the present. Or you're planning for the future. You're planning to see, what I can say to this person so I can even be right and even better next time. So you're never really happy right here. And the ego will give you that momentary thrill, that adrenaline rush. Oh, yeah, I just did a slam dunk. This guy, really knows how good I am and how he doesn't really know anything. But in a way, I was reading, the word snarky seems to come into our vocabulary recently. I don't remember when I was a kid the word snarky, but now but actually I kind of traced it back, and snarky is really the same as the word cynic. A cynic is someone who really has contempt for others because they don't really live according to their path. They're really an elitist. I actually traced it back. I looked at at where it started. It was really a student of Socrates. I think it wasn't Aristophanes. He actually continued the school of cynicism. But the cynics back in those days, that's back the days of Plato and Socrates and Aristotle, they actually thought that their standards were the standards that others should come up to. And they had contempt, and they called themselves cynics. They had a school of cynics, and either you came up to their level or they looked down on you. And that of course, is the separation that we're talking about. People don't talk about cynics anymore. They just come out with snarky remarks, like, basically, I'm better than you, like who are you? Look at me. And that's the judgment that puts us in that prison with bars on the window, that there's no escape. Because as long as you think that there's a difference between the path that you're on and the path that someone else is on, you have judged and condemned yourself. It looks like you've judged and condemned another, but there is no other. You're doing this to yourself because it's happening in your mind.
That's right.
And that's why forgiveness will set you free. The lesson 198, only my condemnation can injure me or hurt me. Only my forgiveness can set me free. Remember, there is no form of pain or suffering in this world that forgiveness cannot heal. I'm trying to turn the mic back to you. Okay.
Very, very well said. Thank you for that. Wonderful, wonderful explanation, and I completely concur. And I mean, when you were talking, about being right or being happy, it also occurred to me, that even if you are right, let's say, you choose, okay, well, I'm going to be right, then because you think it's going to make you happy, right? But, of course it doesn't. There's always a bad taste in it. And so it doesn't really matter. So even if you say, okay, I'm right, and you're always wrong because it feels bad. It's never pure. So there's no way to be right. There's no way to be right. So you may as well just be, You may as well just be. And you reminded me of a story I was... regarding being right and wrong. It's stories left me, so it will be left for the moment, but it's that's the point that I came to, where I recognized it didn't taste good. It had a bad taste, and I didn't want it anymore. I was seeking like a purity that I don't know how I knew existed. Somehow, I guess, I think we all, on some level, know, because it's not separate from us. But it may be just a little tiny nagging that we can ignore, because we have bigger, more important things to do. But somehow it became very large for me. It became very, very important. And I realized that in order to reach that, I couldn't be right anymore. I had to allow others, to be right. Everybody can be right, and not in a a flossy kind of, oh, we're all right kind of deal. No, it's just, if you don't judge right or wrong, there is no wrong. So if there's no right, there's no wrong. And this is where we leave duality, and all there is peace. When you stop drawing that line in the sand, there's just, peace.
Yeah, I just want to jump in. For me, right and wrong is the same as right and wrong is the same as win and lose. It's either I win, you lose, or you win, I lose. But in those two cases, nobody wins. it's lose-lose. Because if anyone loses, we all lose. We
Yeah.
all wake together, or we all sleep together. You know, basically, if I want to be right because I want to win, at your expense of losing, there are no winners in that. That's a lose-lose. It's only if I see you as myself is there a win-win. So back to you, Cynthia.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, that's the thing is, how can you see me as you when you have separated yourself in any way, shape, or form? You can't. You know, but by the same token, if you never see others as separate, you will not transgress this way. You will not blame. You will not attack. You will not separate mentally that way. So, you know, it's which came first, the chicken or the egg. But it doesn't matter where you are. If a sense of separation or by being transgressed has arisen, you can always reverse that. Wherever you are in it, in the beginning, or you could be full on into it and you can still wake up out of it, because you know the pain of that will just at some point just be too large. So you know, the ultimate forgiveness for me is the realization that what you thought happened never happened. When I say that to people who've never heard it before, they're like, what? How can that be? What are you talking about? And when I do alchemy with people, alchemy is the 7 questions that I ask people, the questions that came to me that reversed my pain and suffering. Then from a good feeling state, feeling good first, not trying to force a good thought on a bad feeling, which is very painful and doesn't feel genuine. From a good feeling state, they automatically have natural wisdom that just bubbles up. It's just, sometimes they don't even have words for it, and they're just like, oh, oh, I see it. You know, they'll say, I see it. They can't verbalize it, but they just realize how ridiculous it is and how untrue it is, and the whole thing, you know, just falls away. Because when we stop hurting ourselves, then we become more expansive in our experience, and we can see clearly and access wisdom. So, you know, in not hurting ourselves, we forgive ourselves, and that leaves space for other people to forgive themselves. And so both sides are relieved and forgiven. And if you start to notice your mind reads, even the ones you don't voice to other people, but the ones that just go on in your head, you notice them at that level, then eventually you lose interest in them. You realize that, you know, as I said to one client today, no thought is true. No thought, good or bad, is true. All thoughts are experienced. So which thought do you want to experience?
Yes, exactly. If I can just follow up here, exactly what you just said. One of the famous lines in A Course in Miracles is, teach only love, for that is what you are. You know, in the beginning of the Course it says your function here is not to look and search for love, but that's beyond the scope of this Course. But it is to remove the blockages to your awareness of love's presence. Love is here. It's like a fish, maybe the last one to discover what water is, because he's swimming in the water all the time. But if you're waging a war, meaning that you see that you want to win at someone else's expense, there doesn't seem to be any love there. And we all know that the world has actually been filled with wars. I think it was Dr. David Hawkins who was on the Oprah show. And he says, you know, in mankind's history, 97% of the time of mankind's history, he's been at war. So Oprah kind of picked up on that, and she says, oh, does that mean that for 3% of the time we were actually at peace? He said, oh, no. 3% of the time we're either too sick from plagues or too poor from financial depressions. And, you know, when the world went through a depression, there was no money to fight wars.
Wow.
So you might say we're really always at war. The world that we made is
Mm.
really a place where we really want to say to God, you know, God, you didn't make me special. So I'm going to make myself special. I mean, you know, you didn't make me special, but love, which is another word for God, cannot make anyone special. Love sees all as the same. So I said, well, I'll make a world of differences. And because we know the world is a world of differences, everyone seems to be different religions, different countries, different attitudes towards everything, different food, different this. Everyone has a different way of looking at things. And if anything, a miracle is nothing more than a shift in perception in which you begin to see that everything is really for our one purpose of healing and remembering the truth. We have denied the truth. We have denied the truth, and the truth is that we are one. The truth is that we are the love, the one love of creation. And that's why it says teach only love, because that's what you are. But the moment I'm listening to this voice that says that I'm right and another is wrong at their expense, I'm right back into that world of duality where there seems to be two of us. And as long as there's two of us, there's going to be a separation, and then the voice for separation kicks in. The voice for separation, almost like an echo, you might say, the voice for separation is always basically seeing the shadows rather than the light. Now, the Course in Miracles says the goal of this Course is not knowledge. The goal of this Course is peace. And you said that earlier. You said, you know, if you really want the peace of God, if you really want the peace of God, then being right or having knowledge is impossible. It's impossible if you really just want the peace of God. Once you have the peace of God, you're already in the kingdom, and all of real knowledge is given to you because you are the kingdom. You know, the kingdom is not within you. You are the kingdom. You are the peace of God that passeth all understanding. But you have to choose. Do I want peace or do I want to be right? That's it.
You know, you say so many good things. This is why I get speechless sometimes when you're done, because I just have so many things that are, you know, because we are not simplistic, we are multiplistic, and so many great things that I get excited about what you say that I just want to comment on them all. But, you know, one of them is this thing that, you know, we see differences, we see variation out there, but it's much like a jeweler, you know, if you look at gold jewelry, you see all kinds of variation, but the essence is the same. The essence is still gold. A jeweler doesn't see separation. A jeweler just sees gold. And that is the shift in, you know, in perspective that can happen. And it can happen when you pay attention to your actual direct experience, not the mental one. You know, when I listen to you and I, you know, hear so-called your words arising, where do they arise? They arise here within me. They don't arise elsewhere within a different, separate person. You know, I cannot separate your words from my hearing. I never had that before the direct seeing, but now I can't get rid of it. So I cannot see a separate person anywhere. Just like a gold jeweler can't see anything but gold unless some fool's gold has come their way. But they're not fooled by it, you see.
Yeah.
And what happens is people get fooled, you know, and then they get fearful. And yes, fear is the opposite of love, as you said. That love is all there is. Fear is just an appearance, because it's based on the appearance of separation, where there is none.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to just jump in for a second. As you were speaking, I was thinking of the way we see things. You know, the ego, or the little small self, is always analyzing. You know, always looking to see what it can find, because it always seems that it's lacking something, so it's always trying to get something that it seems to be lacking, looking for more information. As Eckhart Tolle says, you don't need more information. That's more form. As a matter of fact, if anything, It's about letting go of all those concepts and all that information to empty out the mind to allow the light and the love that we are to fill it. So
Yes.
the ego really has these little kind of small things it tries to investigate and analyze and try to understand how it all is. Uh, I would my wife had just gone to a doctor for cataract surgery, and just before the surgery, the doctor said, "You want me to put the lens in so you can see up close, like reading a book? Or do you want me to put it in for seeing a car, like when you're driving, you want to see like a mile ahead?"
Wow.
And she said, well definitely, farther, because, I can only put glasses on for seeing up front. He said, fine. And I'm sitting there, I said, wait a minute. You mean in this 20-minute procedure, you can determine whether she sees up close or far? He said, yeah, it's simple. He's adjusting the lens. He's putting the lens in. And that's really what happens. The ego is always looking for something right, like, how can I analyze, how can I find guilt? And of course the ego is always about finding guilt, not its guilt, but to blame somebody, to find fault in others. So I always say the ego is like a dirty cop. He really knows where the guilt is. People get caught when they thought they would never get caught because the ego knows exactly who's doing what. Always, the ego is always alert to what's going on. Just like spirit is always alert, except that spirit doesn't see sin, doesn't see wrongness. Spirit sees the whole picture and sees how loving it is to everyone, whereas the ego is just honing in on, oh, I found somebody that I can blame for my unhappiness, for my. I'm sorry. Yeah.
In truth, though, even ego's apparent evilness of looking for blame has below its surface a positive reason. They want to feel good.
Yes.
It comes from love.
Yeah.
Just misguided.
Yeah. Even the ego wants to feel good. There's no choice about it. It's Dr. Feelgood. Yeah, I'm going to write a prescription for you. Find someone who basically has done something wrong, and see how much better you are over them.
Yeah.
And when you go home at night and you turn on the 6 o'clock news or the 6:30 national news, you see all those people out there that have done all those wrong things, and you can really, you can sit back and have a little dinner and say, there for the grace of God go I.
Yeah, maybe that's why the news is usually full of bad news. I don't know. Misguided wants to pick us up, but I think for most people, who believe that there is such a thing as evil or bad, that it will just drag them down. Not much further, but and cause more separation. Now there's all those evil people out there doing all those evil things, right? So, yeah.
It was once told to me by the guy that turned me on to the Course in Miracles. His name was Stuart Emery. He was one of the co-founders of S. And we were talking about newspapers and news and media. And I remember when I was young and foolhardy, I actually started a campaign, an activist campaign in New York, to get the network news stations to put on some more good news. And David, he said people wouldn't want to watch good news. People watch the news because they're saying, oh, they finally got that guy. He's going to get what he deserves. But if you were showing good news where people were happy and all that, nobody would be watching it. Nobody would be a commercial sponsor to actually sponsor those particular programs. News is usually that kind of news where you're finding, and by the way, the news stations always sprinkle some good stuff in it, so it's not all bad.
Yeah, they don't want to depress you because depressed listeners, they don't make a lot of money off depressed listeners. But it's true, what they say, that what bleeds leads the news. I don't know. I don't get it. I know there are some publications, I think mostly online, that are about good news, and I think they have that in their name. They're few and far between, but they're actually really fun. Fun to go and check out, because you see some really neat stuff that you wouldn't otherwise see.
Yeah. I want to put a plug for Open Minds for ACIM and NTI, which is my Facebook group. We have over 12,000 members, and those people who are posting there are only posting their light, their love, their laughter, their blessings, and it's really a gift to come here. If people actually go there to kind of just like calm into the peace and the light that actually is there. So I'm not saying that wherever you go, there's that kind of thing. Yeah, you can actually select, but for the most part, when we watch the news, it's always somebody who basically out there has done something that you feel a little bit better because you aren't caught. And actually, you know, the mind that's thinking that is already a corrupt mind. Whenever you see differences between yourself and another, that program is already corrupt. That's a corrupted program.
Yeah. It boosts the ego. Anything that the ego can use to separate me from you, that I'll take it and I'll use that and puff that up, you know. And the thing is, as you're sitting in front of the TV and you're listening to all this bad news, after a while, you're not even aware of the negative effect that has on your body, your mind, the stress, the anxiety, the raised blood pressure, you know, the heart beating harder and faster. And so it's very, very stressful, as opposed to, you know, going to some place like Course in Miracles for Open Minds, where, you know, it's good news and you're indulging in good news. And that's similar to what I show people what to do, and what I did early on, which was I indulged in love for no reason. And I knew I was feeling the physiological changes in the body. It wasn't until I got a little biofeedback unit that you plug onto your ear that registers your heartbeat, and it can tell if your heart is in sync, in coherence or not, in a healthy pattern. And I was told, well, it's really hard to get it in the green, you know, get it out of the red and get it in the green. And I plugged that thing on, and it just skyrocketed to the green. And I laughed because it was confirmation of what I already knew. You could feel it in the body. You know, it felt so good. And engaging in that, I say that depression starts, you know, as a habit. And joy can start as a habit and become spiritual. And indeed, that is what happened. So. Yeah, depression starts as a habit and can become physical. Joy starts as a habit, it becomes spiritual. So I call what I show people the joyful way to question yourself into the power of now. And basically that's what it does combine. It combines tangible experience of the body-mind and a shift that is undeniable. It's not just, you know, a thought. Yes, that thought sounds good, I'll adopt that thought. This is deeper than that. This is fundamental.
Yeah, I wanted to say, with regard to news that seems to depress and, of course, will stress you out because there's fear and maybe upset and anger. Here in the New York area where I am located, because that's where Madison Avenue is, and I do watch NBC and CBS News a lot. When I say a lot, I don't watch, well, I watch CNN also, but the point I'm really making is that the sponsors of those programs, at least where I am, are mainly pharmaceutical companies who are selling prescription drugs, and they kind of know who their audience is. There's no accident that the pharmaceutical companies advertise so big on the major news stations. There's no accident. That it brings up another story for me because, you know, as you say, you can get depressed very easily watching this stuff because you say, my God, where's the hope? Where's the mercy? Where's the compassion? Where's the love? And it becomes hopeless, and that will drag you down. That'll really drag you down. Reminds me of Muktananda was the head of the Siddha Yoga Ashram. This is the yoga of the mind. And I happened to drop into his ashram. It was down in Miami Beach, right on in the ocean. That was a number of years ago, back around 1980. And I happened to be there a weekend of for an intensive workshop weekend for psychotherapists only. At the time, I was not a practicing psychotherapist, but as Holy Spirit would have it, I found myself in that particular weekend workshop. And I'll never forget, it must have been about 250 psychotherapists from around the world coming to listen to Muktananda actually say, you know, in this whole world, there's maybe only 4 or 5 people, you can count them on one hand, people that can listen to stories of depression and oh, woe is me, and all my problems day in and day out, without, the mind is like a sponge. It absorbs these poisons and toxins.
Yeah.
He says maybe only 4 or 5 people in the world that have a mind that won't absorb these poisons and toxins. And I'll never forget what happened then. This woman sitting in the middle of the floor in a lotus position, she jumped up and said, but Baba, what are we supposed to do? This is how we earn our profession. People come to us and tell us their stories. They are looking for help, and we're there to help them. Of course we have to listen. And he did exactly what you just did. He looked and he started laughing and he said, no, don't listen to the story. Do your Om Namah Shivaya instead. Now, your Om Namah Shivaya is the same as Namaste. You know, you actually go to the spirit in you that's joined with the spirit in your patient, and you're being with spirit. And when this person stops speaking, you don't have to analyze what the person was saying. You don't have to listen to every word. When the person stops speaking, the perfect words will come out of your mouth and give this person exactly what they need to hear for their healing. And now, once you know, that happened in around 1980, and I've been doing that ever since in a way, which means I don't take things seriously. In other words, you actually are with spirit. And spirit doesn't take things seriously. And it's like watching a movie. If you know it's a movie, you know, and you're not into it where your heart is beating and your hands get sweaty and all that, and you think you got to, you know, come up with some kind of an answer. No, you don't have to come up with it. The answer will flow to you and through you. And I just want to share that with our audience because I think it's a very powerful thing. If you sit there listening to the darkness of other people's stories, you will take on that darkness. And Jesus says that in the Course in Miracles in chapter 28, section 4, it's called the Greater Joining. He says, you must refuse to join into your brother's dark dreams. And what's your brother's dark dreams? With their problems, their woes, you know, how am I going to do this and how am I going to do that? Yeah. And of course, a psychotherapist wants to help them, but if you are constantly pulling in that darkness, he says you are reinforcing it for both yourself, the darkness, and for the other person. Yeah. You're making it more real.
Yeah, but that's why, you know, when I work with people, I don't step in their box. I never believe, it's not to say I don't have compassion or understanding, I never buy into the problem. If I buy into the problem, I'm no good to them.
Yes.
You know, be like the blind leading the blind. Where would we go with that, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. It's what Byron Katie said. First of her 4 questions is, can you be sure that that's true? She hasn't bought in.
No.
She hasn't bought in. She's actually questioning, are you sure that that's true?
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, this thing about hanging around people that are like that, it's not damaging. It's not as damaging if you don't believe it. All right. I did a suicide intervention training course recently, and we had to role play. And I was role-playing the suicidal person. And I was saying things that I don't believe one iota, not at all, you know. But and it took quite some time because they were teaching her how to walk me through this process. And I was probably a good 20, 30 minutes in, you know, pretending, taking on the body language, saying the words, you know, the sternness of the face. I didn't believe any of it one iota, but I tell you, after we were done, I had the biggest, burningest headache, a thumping, like the heat. Is the body hears what you say and it responds to it, whether you believe it or not.
Every cell hears what is being said and responds. Every cell.
Yeah. Whether you believe it or not, if you're saying it. And so there's a lot of people who are around saying things they're not even conscious that they're saying.
Yeah.
And so, and they think they don't really believe it, so it can't be that bad, it's some people say, well, it's just an expression. Sorry, it's not just an expression. So when you become guarded with your words, you discover the power of words is immense for yourself and for others and for the body mind. Then you purify. It's a process of purifying the mind and the body at the same time. And so, they're not separate, so they work together. So it can go a long way in a lot of aspects in your physical health, in your relationships, in your ability to function. I mean, but the ultimate is that it can lead you to divine seeing if you take it to the extreme. There's a saying that you need to be extreme to reach the supreme. So we can't just sit on the fence sort of saying, well, this is a nice spot, Okay, you can sit there all your life, but are you going to question the thoughts that you truly hold to be dear and true, the ones that keep the separation dust in front of your eyes? Or are you going to question everything and jump in fully exposed? I was online doing my business, which is not my forte. I'm better with helping people on the emotional mental side, but there's a business aspect to it. And I was offering the 8 truths that stop my pain and and help me discover amazing joy. And I said, well, I'm giving this away. And the woman said, no, you're not. And I said, what? She said, no, you're not giving anything away. And I was, huh, what? She said, well, you're demanding, an email address to get this list. And I struggled with that for a while, but then she finally said to me, you have to give first to get. And it hit me like a truck. She's right. I'm not giving anything. I'm not giving first. I am giving something. I'm not giving first is what she was getting at. And while I was not understanding her, I was sort of arguing it in a way until I really saw it, And if you can, when someone is appearing to be attacking, if you can look at what they're saying and look for the gem, look for the potential little gold nugget that might be in there, the little bit of truth that might be in there somewhere, because there usually is, then that can help you so much.
Yeah.
And I thanked her because I said, you know what, you're right. I wasn't giving anything first. I thought I was, and I wasn't. So and then I started giving beyond belief, and that has really actually helped business. So everything is a gift. Everything can be seen as a gift.
Yeah, actually, what you said is so true. Even when the patient comes to the therapist, a true therapist knows that even though he seems to be giving something to the patient is really a part of himself, and if there's something there, he's really giving to himself. Whatever I'm giving, I'm really giving to myself. So whatever I'm saying to a person, it's really me that needs to hear it. I need to hear it. But this person is my equal self, but they're not different from me. It's not that they have a problem and I don't have a problem. So I'm really speaking, if I think that there's a problem, then I'm the one that has the problem. So as I see them as their perfect self,
yes.
I'm really teaching myself that I am also the perfect self. That's really the shift in perception from thinking that I am holier than thou and I'm giving to you something that basically, and my goodness, I'm giving to you. But actually, what's really happening is I am really giving to myself. And that's one of the most famous, to me at least, lessons in the course, lesson 344. What I give to myself. And it actually says, this is the law of God. This is the law of mind. This is the law of love. That whatever you give to yourself. So what is it that what is it that I would give to myself? It's the
Yes.
same thing you give to anyone, really, and to see them as myself, to see the beauty and the perfection, and that they are a child of God. They are born sinless. They aren't born in sin. They're actually the innocent child of God. Oh yes, they wear a disguise, and as a matter of fact, that disguise is really for me. That disguise is really for me. There's a very famous section that I love to always quote. It's called Dream Roles. That no one in your life, in your dream, in your movie, can do anything other than the role that you have assigned to them. So I'm really like the casting director, and yes, I fill my life, my dream, my movie with people that's going to help me in the lessons that I came here to learn.
Yeah, that's the nature of mind reads.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what they do, you're going to see it the way you're going to see it. And until you want to throw that away and stand completely naked, and I tell you, it sounds maybe scary, but it is the sweetest place to be.
Yeah. Well, basically, you have to be naked because, in truth, we are transparent. In the one mind, everything is known by all in the one mind. Everything is known by all. There's a very funny line. It was just pointed out to me, even though I've been doing the course for years. John Mundy pointed out a line in lesson 52, section 5 of 52.5, paragraph 5, which is the review of lesson 10. Lesson 10 says, none of these thoughts in my mind mean anything. But in the review of that, which is lesson 52.5, it goes a little bit further, and you would never expect that the author of the Course in Miracles would say this, but he does say it. He says, wouldn't you rather join the universal thinking, which is the thinking of the whole, rather than hang out in your pathetic, the word pathetic, in your pathetic, private, personal thoughts? See, we actually think we have a private mind with our personal thoughts, and no one really knows what we're thinking. So even though I can say something nice and sweet to somebody, I'm going to say, what a dumb person is this person. I'm really speaking to my, and everyone in the one mind knows that I am lying. Basically, I am denying the truth about myself. I'm not seeing anybody out there as being, unloving. I'm the one that's being unloving. And until I get out of my own private, personal thoughts, and join the one mind, I'm going to keep doing this over and over again. I see you have somebody here to do
Yeah, we've had a new guest join us. Do we have audio? Hello, welcome.
Hi, Cindy.
Hello. Who do we have here?
Hi, Cindy. I see her name is Cindy, but I don't.
No, that's me. This is. Oh, is it?
Oh, okay.
No, it's Alex. Alex is muted. Let me see if I
that's
can.
Alex. Alex Rayenga. Oh my God.
Oh.
Alex Rayenga. Hi, Alex.
Alex, you're muted. If you can unmute, we can have a conversation here.
There's Alex.
I turned the camera around.
Sabrina. Is Sabrina?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, very well. Thank you.
All right. I was just trying to find something to fill in the time because I'm not sure if Matthew Goodwin is going to be coming in.
Matthew Goodwin.
Oh, sorry. My mind's going off another track. So Dove, I don't know if Matthew Goodwin's going to be coming in. He's on the schedule to come in and speak on the Awakening Together radio. And I saw this shared. I thought, well, maybe you guys want to share this on Pal Talk.
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If we can share this, I think it's one of the best sessions that we've had, really.
Okay. All right. Well, Veronica's got one more minute. And so let's see if I can put it all together because I've got my server in there and I'm in there. So let's see if I can make this happen.
Thank you so much, Alex. Truly.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
My
love to Sabrina.
I'm not totally clear here. What's going on? Are we going to be sharing the replay, or what are we doing?
Well,
no, talking live on Pal Talk.
Ooh, okay.
Live, or are we talking about using our recording here and replaying the recording?
No, it's going to be live.
Okay, very good.
Because I know you had something at 9, David. I saw it on. Wow, we're going to have an extra special here. If anybody's listening in, it looks like we're going to extend it here and bring in some more people. It's going to be fun.
All right, so stand by. Let me wait till Veronica drops the microphone.
Okay. Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome.
So how was the transition made over to Paltalk?
So I've already connected my server to Paltalk. I don't know if you saw me come in twice or how that worked. Let me make sure that's still in there. I'm pretty sure it is. Because when you first saw me come in, you're like, oh, you've got the microphone muted and the camera's off. And then so I switched to my personal computer. So it should be connected to both the server and my personal computer.
Yes, I see two Alexes, and one has a static photo, and one we're looking at, I don't know, the floor or something.
Right. The static one is muted because I didn't want to get feedback.
Okay.
So.
Can we disable the camera on the other one so we're not getting the floor?
How's that?
Perfect.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, Veronica just finished. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can turn on the microphone and let them know what's going on.
Are you saying that Susan's not bad?
Okay, so thank you, Veronica. Thank you very much. Matthew Goodwin was on the schedule to come in right now, but I messaged him. I didn't get a reply. So Dove and make sure I get this right. Dove and Cindy Tevens are doing a Google Hangout, and it just worked out with timing to have them join in on Paltalk from their conversation. So it was kind of spur of the moment, and we'll see if this works. So I'm going to switch over to the server computer, and then you should be able to hear them talking.
Well, can we actually go to Paltalk itself because we can actually be on camera there?
You probably can't hook that up, eh?
Yeah, there's so many people that have like Macs and from the cell phone and from the radio. There would be so many people that wouldn't see the video. Let's just try this and see how it works.
Okay, very good, very good.
All right.
We are in your capable hands.
Not that I've ever done this before, but we're going to try it.
Okay.
Right.
And I don't know, you guys in the room, can you hear Dove and Cindy talking right now?
Hey.
My wife says no. Okay, all right, hold on.
We have to make some noise, though.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Hello? Can anyone hear? I see Larry Warhorn. Larry, I wanted to share with you that for the next 3 sessions, Cindy is going to invite you to be her partner for the next 3 sessions. If you say yes, that's it, because I'm going to be taking August off. But so please get with Cindy, and the two of you will be working the last 3 sessions of this forgiveness thing together. Great.
I didn't get the microphone locked on to the beginning of that. Larry, that was addressed to you from Dove. Did you hear him, Larry?
He said yes. He said yes, so he must.
Yay, we have a deal.
Yeah.
All right.
He said yes.
Excellent.
That seals the deal. I'm saying what?
Larry says what?
Oh, okay.
What happened? What happened?
All right. I'll ask him later. Okay.
I don't know if
No sound so far, Alex. I still think that coming on Paltalk would be easy. I know only one can use the mic at a time, but we've been doing that for years. Oh, Alex says it's working. Alex, are you able to hear me? Oh, Sabrina says it's working. Okay.
Yeah, so I can hear you, but what I was having to do is I was having to mute it so I wouldn't get feedback.
Okay.
But yeah, so Cindy and Dev, you guys should be live in the room right now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Alex, Sabrina, Larry, everyone who's here. I'm going to turn the mic over to you. Since this is really your program, Cindy. Go ahead.
This is my program? Oh,
yeah.
Whoa. All right. Yeah, wow. This is a treat. Really pleased to be here. I hope everybody can hear okay. We are coming to you through Google+, I don't know how, into Paltalk for ACIM this evening. And I'm very honored to be here. We were just wrapping up a conversation about easy forgiveness. what that means, and you know, how that's how you can easily forgive, and why it's easy. So I don't know, David, what you were leaving off with talking about. Oh my God, we talked about so many different things. But at one point you talked about, you know, the people look for why is someone doing this to me? And so they perceive that they're being wronged. But if you don't perceive you're being wronged, there's nothing to forgive. There's no problem, there's no pain. But when you find yourself with a problem, instead of believing that it's true, that it's real, you need to take another look. And there's various different techniques to take a look to discover that you've actually made a mistake. Isn't that right, David?
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things that we covered very early in the last hour, and that I do hear an echo, but it's okay with me. It's okay with you, Alex, and people in the room. For me, when Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Choose one. You can't have both. He says this like 3 times. And, you know, being right at the expense of someone else's being wrong is really the same thing as I want to win and you lose. And in the game of win-lose, there are no winners, none whatsoever. Because in truth, we are one. And if one wins and the other loses, they both lose. There is no gain at all. Actually, both are still sleeping. There is no awakening. So the healing comes when it's a win-win, when the right, wrong, good, bad doesn't even exist. And in the Course in Miracles, he tells you the goal of this course is not knowledge. And the goal of this course is peace. The goal of this course is peace, not knowledge. So we who basically spend a lifetime trying to gain knowledge so that we can know more and we can have, you know, better ideas of what's going on so that I can finally be right and I'm going to tell others how right I am, we are identifying ourselves with the things of this world, because if you identify yourself with your path in this world or a book in this world and you say, well, this is who I am, and you don't really study the same book or you're not walking the same path, and so my path, my book is better than your path and your book, and you can see how that devolves very fast, very quickly into a power struggle, me versus you. And until I give up that power struggle of actually thinking that my judgments or my opinions are better opinions and better judgments than another, I will continue to put myself in a prison. When Jesus says in the Course, you're either host to God or you're host to God or you're slave to the ego. You're a hostage to the ego. And when he says you're a hostage to the ego is really not like a prison with bars on the window. It's that I'm listening to this voice and I want to be right. And I keep listening to the voice thinking that I am right. And there's no way out of that. It's a vicious cycle. The only way out is saying, I really don't want this anymore. And in fact, for those people who've been listening to Adyashanti and so many other teachers, Ken Mallory, on and on, Ken Wapnick, on and on, Regina, Lynn, all the teachers in this room who are saying, IDK, I don't know. That's the way out. Because as long as I think I know, I'm saying that my understanding and knowledge is better than another's, and I know better. No, that has to be finally let go, surrendered, finally to trust that I do not know. I do not know, and yet everything is given to me. Everything is given to me. So I don't have to learn anything. This is a course in unlearning. So I'll turn the mic over to you, Cindy.
That's true. You know, when the I know is what I call a mind read, or what we call in neurolinguistic programming or NLP, a mind read. And mind reads are claiming to know what someone else is feeling or thinking. And, you know, the ultimate is to become okay with not knowing. I mean, and the truth is you don't know. You can never know. I mean, short of asking someone, you'll never know what they're thinking. You know, I call it giving someone the evil, getting some feedback here. I call it giving someone the evil eye. The I know is the evil eye. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're feeling. And what you said is exactly it, is that knowledge is not peace. We have worshipped knowledge. We have worshipped the mind. And the mind itself is disturbance. We have this term, you know, peace of mind. There's no such thing. Mind itself is disturbance. And a return to not knowing is a return to purity, is a return to before good, bad, is a return to childlike innocence, which is love, joy, peace. You don't need to know. And when you start to experiment, because in the beginning that's what it is, it's an experiment, to not care about knowing. Just don't touch it. You notice these thoughts come up. You don't touch it. And there might be this, at first, a little sense of agitation. You know, you just want to go out. Yeah, no, don't touch it. And it's amazing to discover how little you actually need to know. I have a good story about this. I had a roommate who, you know, one day I had put some objects on a chair because I was moving them out onto the porch. And I put it on the chair for a couple of reasons. But I didn't tell her the reasons. And one day she said to me, "Did you put those there so that no one can sit there?" And that was such a strange question to me because I didn't understand it. And then the mind read, you know, mind pops up and says, "Oh, that's sarcasm." I didn't believe it, you know. And this is the thing, is just because a thought comes up doesn't mean it's your thought. It doesn't mean you're bad somehow. It doesn't, you know, if you grab that thought and you believe it and you experience it, that is different. You see, thoughts are all options. They're not mandatory. They come and they go if you leave them alone. So this thought arose, you know, "Oh, that's sarcasm." And I thought, that's as strange a thought or stranger than her question. So I didn't touch either of them, and I just went about my business, because the next question to myself was, well, do I need to know? It's like, no, I can't think of a reason I need to know anything more about that. So I just answered the question. I said, no, I didn't put that there so that no one could sit there. And I went about my business and forgot about it. But it was churning because of what I do. You know, this is exactly what I work with people, is mind reads. And I just got really curious about it. So a couple days later, I said to her, "Do you remember the stuff on the chair?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "This is what you said." She said, "Yeah." I said, so I asked her the question that everybody should burn into their brain and use this question. It's one of the 2 power questions I teach. What was your purpose in saying that? That's what I asked her. You never ask why. Why imparts judgment, and people will shut down and put up a big wall, and it's just like when you hear one ego going at another ego, there's a lot of whys being flown around here. So I just said, what was your purpose? I'm curious. What was your purpose in saying that? And she said, well, I just wanted to know if you put that there so no one could sit there. And that didn't really give me any more information, so I paused for a moment, and then she said, well, you know, because I've done that. If there was something wrong with the chair and I didn't want someone to sit there because they might fall down. And I went, oh! And I've never done that. That would have never registered for me, you know. And so it was pure innocence, of course, for her. And gladly, I don't believe in mind reads anymore. They do arise. I notice them, but I don't grab them. And if I need to know, I ask. Just ask this question, what was your purpose in saying that? It's a very, very powerful question for relationships.
Yeah, it's so true. What is your purpose? And you know, I've been asking that question for a very long time right here in this room. You know, in the Course in Miracles, the only thing that Jesus says has any meaning, he gives it a 3-word sentence, chapter in lesson 25. The very first sentence is a 3-word sentence. Doesn't want you to miss it, doesn't want to get it in a long, iambic, pentameter sentence. He says, purpose is meaning. Purpose is meaning.
Yes.
Nothing else in this world has any meaning. What is your purpose? What Why are you here? What is your purpose? And that's the only thing that we can all join in. Purpose is the only thing. He tells you this in the Course. You
Yes.
can't join in anything except purpose, because purpose is of mind. There's nothing to do with a cause or anything like that, like let's make a better world. It's nothing to do with anything to do with this world. It's the purpose of remembering the truth of who you are, what you are, and what we are as one.
And that unites.
Yeah. And that has been the first of the 12 core themes I say the Course is teaching. My only purpose is to awaken from this dream of forgetfulness. I have forgotten the truth. But let me remember that it's the same purpose that everyone here in this world actually has as their purpose too. It's not just the purpose of someone here in this room or does a course or takes Cindy's courses or does counseling. No. Every one of the 7 billion people in this world, on this planet, join and share the same purpose. We are one. We are one. And that's why only purpose has meaning. Only purpose has meaning.
I think a lot of those 7 billion people just don't realize that that's their purpose yet.
Yeah.
Well, on some level, we do all share, and sometimes we don't even realize this, we all share the purpose of wanting to be happy. And that's because that is your natural state. Now, the way people go about trying to be happy, the strategies that they employ can backfire, and they're not really very resourceful. But that's just because of confusion of where they believe happiness is. People still believe that the happiness lie, which is that things, people, or events make them happy or unhappy. And so there they are out there in the world trying to manipulate the world to get what they want from it so they can be happy. It's very misguided, it's very superficial. And if you just stop the agitation, you stop the mind, you stop the seeking, you'll be okay with not knowing, your natural, innate, inborn, everlasting happiness of being will be known to you. You don't need anything to be happy, as Mooji says. You need something to be unhappy, like an unhappy thought.
Yeah, my little brother, he's been going through drug rehab, and he's just in a real down place right now. And, it's kind of a dilemma of mine, because it's like, do I try to tell him that he's not going to find happiness out there in this world, or do I let him find his own way? I'm not sure how I can help. I want to help, but, he's, enamored in this dream that he can find happiness out there in the world, and I'm not sure how to handle that.
Well, if I can just jump in, lesson 200. Which is the final lesson in part 1 of the workbook, which is where Jesus says, there is no peace but the peace of God. And in the first paragraph, he says, if you keep looking for what you think you're going to find in this world, not only will you fail, but you'll become bitterly disappointed, bitterly. And he goes on to say, but if you look where it is, oh, now I see you. Hi,
hello.
He said, but if you look where it is, you must succeed. So yes, this is an inward journey. There's no two ways about it. As Krishnamurti once said, look within. If I'm willing to look within, and yes, if you're doing the course and you're practicing vigilance and you're watching your thoughts and you're practicing the lessons, you will finally recognize and realize that only the ego, or that voice that thinks that you, hi Sabrina, how are you, love? Hi. That only I love that only the voice of lack, the voice of inadequacy, thinking that it needs more, it needs to get something that it doesn't have. But if you begin to reverse that and realize that you already have everything, everything has been given to you, just like it's been given to everyone. That's why the world looks the way it is. We actually made a world where we seem to lack. But that lack or that sacrifice really comes from my wanting to be special, to be different. And if I want to be special, then nobody can make me special. Certainly God can't make me special. Love doesn't make anyone special because love sees all as the same. So while I want to be special, while I want to find something that would make me, I'm going to find the magic formula for finally giving me something that others don't have. I'm really searching for fool's gold. That's fool's gold. There's nothing out there. There's really nothing out there. And he says, if you keep looking where it's not, you're going to be bitterly disappointed. So sooner or later, everyone comes to the place, asks the same question. He says, is there a better way? There must be a better way because, he says, your tolerance for pain may be high, but it's not without limits. Sooner or later, the pain and suffering is going to get to, is there another way? And yes, there is another way. Certainly not looking outside of you. Certainly not looking at something that you think is going to give you something. In fact, in the 3 lessons of the Holy Spirit, he actually says in the second of the 3 lessons, to have peace, teach peace, to learn it, he says the first step in the undoing process, in the healing process, is to stop the getting habit. There's nothing to get. If you already have everything, you can't get anything. You can only share it. You can only give it. And that is the law of love. What I give to myself. And you don't have to study A Course in Miracles to give love. You are love. You are giving your heart, the compassion, the love, the kindness, the helpfulness that's in your heart. And speaking to your brother, Alex, I think you mentioned that he was your brother.
Yeah.
He does have his own lessons. There's no 2 ways about it. He has his own lessons. There's really nothing that we can really give to him. Yes, you can support him, but you really can't give him anything. And Jesus says, please don't ask me to help you. He says, I can't. He says, only you can do this for yourself. He says, otherwise I would be intervening in the most fundamental law of the universe, which is cause and effect. So we have to reverse and see that we are doing this to ourselves, and anything that I'm doing to myself, I can undo. Because I am the powerful Holy Son of God. And yes, I do have to call upon the Holy Spirit to direct me, to lead me, for me to step back. And that's called trust, to trust that I am perfectly led. And I'm here to say, in my experience, that everyone here is going through being perfectly led. I was just like your brother. I was going through all kinds of stuff, during my 30s, when I was about anywhere from 30 to 40. I was really, I was looking everywhere, yeah, we get addicted to all kinds of things, and then finally you say, is there a better way? And yes, if you really ask in earnest, it's given to you.
Yeah. With sincerity, with desire, with love. And I draw a big line between wanting, which hurts, and desiring something, which doesn't hurt, because that's love. And, Spirit speaks through everything and everybody, and I'm a big proponent of natural consequences, which is natural consequences to our actions. They're the best teachers. So we sometimes seem to have to go through what we have to go through. At the same time, since we get messages and teachings from everybody and everything around us, you are a part of his life and his world. What I would suggest is that anything that you would want to tell him, instead of telling him, take that and turn it around and ask him a question. Let it come from within him. He has all the wisdom he needs within him. And if it's coming from the so-called outside, it may be hit up against an ego wall and will go nowhere. Whereas if you take what you want to say and turn it into a question, this can be very hard to do at first because we're not used to doing this. I am, because I'm doing it for years, helping people. But if everybody got better at this, we'd be helping each other a lot more. So bite your tongue, hold back, take that thought, and put it into a question that comes from love. And you'll find that you will benefit from it as much as he will. I just want to talk about the wanting bit again for a moment, just quickly. You know, when you want something, you disturb your natural peace. That's what David was saying. So for example, say I have this nice phone and you really want it, right? But you don't have it. So what do? When you really want something that you don't have? There's this inner agitation, right? There's this, I have to have it, I want that, what am I going to do? I have to get it, and I can't have it, nah. Well, say what happens is you get it. And you stop agitating yourself, and immediately you feel relief. And then a thought comes up, oh yeah, I have it, now everything is right, everything is in order. And with these thoughts, you start to feel good. And what happens is confusion. We have confused the thing for the feeling. See, we don't want things, people, or events. We want the feeling we mistake them for, and that's what's going on. It's very much similar to this ancient story about a hunter who goes out in the woods with his dog, and the dog scares a rabbit out of the bush and smack dab into a tree, and it dies. Hunter, thanks his lucky stars, takes the rabbit home, is enjoying rabbit stew and contemplating the rabbit-killing tree. Yeah, so he goes back the next day to the tree and he sits by it, just waiting for it to do its stuff. Of course, it doesn't all day, and he goes home hungry. You see, this is the kind of confusion when we confuse worldly things, people and events, with love and peace and joy. We miss love and peace and joy that is already here, as David said, because we're wanting. And wanting is missing directly in itself. And so the way I say, if you want to help somebody else, the best way to help somebody else is to end their suffering, is to end your own suffering. So end your own suffering about your brother. See that there's nothing wrong. Continue to talk with him, and if anything comes up that you want to tell him, put it in a question, and it will come from someplace deeper and wider, and you'll go, wow, where'd that come from? Because you have the wisdom within you too.
Yeah. He posted on Facebook the other day, he said, what the hell do I even want anymore? And it just seems like that's an opportunity for me to say something, but what do I say? Do I say, well, you really don't want anything of this world. What you really want is the peace of God.
Yeah, turn that around. Don't, right. Put that in a question. Don't tell him it. Put it in a question. What I hear him saying is, nothing here is satisfying me.
Right. Right.
So in a way, it is a kind of an opening.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So instead of telling him anything, ask him questions. Hear him. He wants to be heard. So, you could write back and say, that's a very good question.
Right.
Yeah. It is a very good question.
It is.
What have you found? What do you think? Where are you at?
Engage him that way instead of soapboxing. I like that. Yeah.
Here's a question. Has anything you've tried so far, has it really done it for you?
Right.
Don't be afraid of this conversation. Some people might, be afraid that you're basically saying there's no happiness in the world. And it's not true. There is happiness in the world. It's just not of the world. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I see that.
There's endless happiness. There's infinite joy available to everybody immediately. So yeah, ask him, what do you think? Listen to him. He has wisdom within him, and a conversation like this can help that surface.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome. Very welcome. And certainly the love will surface. He will hear, wow, you're not judging me for my past or my present, or, you're not, you're actually listening to me. And, maybe that is going to take everything a lot further. That's when you can come to truly know him, rather than your thoughts and fears about him.
Right, right.
Which would be mind reads, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So we think we're helping people because we've got these mind reads. They shouldn't be the way they are. And we know better. And if you'd only do this, his life would be fine, and then I could be fine. You see, yeah, more of the happiness lie. It's a violence to think that you know what somebody else should be doing.
Yeah.
As opposed to just listening to how they are doing and being there for them.
Yeah.
David, did we lose you there?
No, I'm listening. I think that was very helpful. Thank you so much, Cindy. And thank you for bringing up that example for us, Alex.
Yeah.
I think exactly what Cindy just said. To think that we have the answer for somebody else, that answer is really an answer for us. The easiest way to help the world, or to help your brother, which is really the same thing, is to accept, is to actually love yourself, accept your brother as he is, to see his own perfection. That's really what a teacher of God is always doing. He's actually seeing the truth in his brother. He's not seeing the darkness. And because love is the healing power. As you love, acceptance in this world, acceptance is love. As Byron Katie says, acceptance now ends all suffering. So as you accept things the way they are instead of trying to change things, and you see how perfect everything is, that in truth we're all going through exactly the scenarios that we actually ask for. Not that these things are done to us, we actually called upon them. Each one of us has gone through our own dark night. I mean, and when you come out the other side, you're there for someone else. You're there for someone else because you've come from the dark into the light, and you know that the dark is not who you are, that you are the light, that I am the light. And so you can speak as the light because you've moved through the dark. But if you've never known the dark, how could you possibly know the light, really?
Right. Know thyself. That makes
First.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to also jump on that thing that I've been putting up here a few times by Woo Wee Woo. Wei Wu Wee, his name is. But he says.
Is that a person? I didn't know Wee Woo Wee was a person.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was some joke.
No. That's his real name is. He's an American with the name of Richard Gray or something like that. But that's his pen name is Wee Wu Wee. And he says, disciples and devotees, what are most of them really doing? He says they're worshiping the teapot instead of drinking the tea. Now, when you were speaking earlier, Cindy, about, we want the knowledge, but here the knowledge is worshiping the teapot. There's no knowledge that you need to worship in this world. There's nothing in this world that's going to give you anything. The whole idea, exactly as you say, is to have the experience. And it's like when you say, how would you like to have this? You don't have it. It's the experience of having it. Actually, having it doesn't really mean anything, but it's the experience. The experience that I finally have what everyone else has. That's an experience. Now, you can have that experience now as long as you don't think it's an object that's outside of you, because we already have everything. But if you're worshiping knowledge that's maybe a concept or something that you haven't read yet, and you're going to read in some future date, you will never have that experience that you already have everything. There's no accident that Jesus says in the Course, being and having are the same. Being and having are the same. So in my creation, I have been given everything. Being already has everything. But you will not know what you have until you share it, until you give it. To have all, give all to all. It's a very simple statement, and yet it's always misunderstood by the ego, who says, but what do I have to give? Don't I have to give one of these things, or don't I have to give knowledge? No, that's where we comes in. You know, we're worshiping the knowledge. No, 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 no. There's nothing to worship. It's to experience the love that you are. When you experience the love, the kindness, the helpfulness, the love that is given to you, when God gave all of himself to all of his children, he didn't leave anything out. Just like any parent, you give all. You don't hold anything back. And Jesus tells you very clearly, if you're not giving all, you must have been reluctant to accept all. So it's always back to us. If I don't accept the love of God, which means I'm denying the love of God, I'm going to be reluctant to share the love of God because I don't think that I have it. It's just really...
Yeah, and you're not going to have anything to share because you're relying on your own little thing, you know, your own little idea of love, which is a little flimsy thought, which, you know, is sort of, it's not reliable, and it's like whatever mood of the moment is up or whatever's happened to me today, and that's just not, that's not love. You know, that. So I say, you know, become self-fulfilling. Become so self-fulfilling that you're overflowing with love that it can't not be given. It just oozes, you know, out of you. And that is what happens when you experience love. People, so how do you actually do that? People think, well, I have to think, yes, I love, I love, I love. No, you don't think love. You don't, you feel it. It's like I saw this Winnie the Pooh cartoon, and one of the characters asked him, well, how do you spell love? And Winnie says, you don't spell it, you feel it. You know? And so what happened to me was I started engaging in feeling good. It was quite accidental. I wasn't seeking anything divine at the time. I just wanted relief from my pain and suffering. But I made this discovery that not only did I get relief when I continued with it, but it grew. And it grew, and it grew into these states of ecstasy and bliss for no reason. And I just followed the love. And at some point, it was like, instead of me seeking it, it was seeking me. And it was no longer, it was happening spontaneously. It was sort of, I'll say, out of my control, the me who I used to think I was. And it became all-consuming. And that degree of love experience blows out the mind. You know, it blows out the ego. When you are feeling so much bliss and ecstasy, do you have any interest in the world? Things? What can they give you that compares to this love? Nothing. Nothing. So there I was out in the woods in so much bliss. I just said, you know what? Do with me what you will. I don't care. This is awesome. You know, surrender came from that. A true surrender. From which there was no return.
Yeah. And when you use the word feeling, it's a feeling, I immediately thought of my favorite lesson in the course, which is a favorite lesson of a lot of people, lesson 189, which is, I feel the love of God. I feel the love of God. And notice that that's the lesson that says, well, you know, how can you feel the love of God in a world that seems to be so stressful and all these things are happening? How could you feel it? And it starts off by saying, paragraph 7, simply do this. Be still. And if you just stop there, that would be the whole thing. Simply do this, be still, because our mind is so active trying to get something. And he says, no, it's in your stillness. It's in the peace within that you're going to experience feeling the love of God. And then it goes on to say, don't bring with you any thought you've ever learned from anything in this world, nothing that you ever thought was true or good or real or right, nothing you were ever ashamed of. Hold on to nothing. And then he goes on to say, forget this world, forget this course, and come with wholly empty hands unto your God. I think it's the next paragraph that's really where Jesus is laughing, you know, tongue-in-cheek laughing, and says, hey, Don't you think he knows the way to you? Why do you think you have to learn the way to him? And recently, that lesson 47, which talks about trust, is the first time that trust is mentioned in the lessons, really. That I think it's the first time. Lesson 47 is God is the strength in which I trust. You see, words are twice removed from the experience. So if you feel the love of God within you now, and that feeling is so good that you don't really need anything here in this world anymore, you can actually use feeling good. Feeling good is the strength in which I trust. To feel good, to feel the love of God is to feel so good that you don't need this or that anymore. So when you finally get to lesson 128, which finally says, well, there's nothing in this world I want, if you're already feeling the love of God, why would you think you need something here in this world? You don't really need anything, and because only the ego comes from lack, ego being the symbol of lack, of inadequacy, of unworthiness, of not enough, I'm not good enough. Only that thought system thinks it needs something more in order to finally be what it sees it has to be. No, we already have everything.
Yeah, divine love is so fulfilling. It's like I have friends who say, "Oh, they just got married, and they wish that I have that in my life," and I no. I said, they don't know what they're saying. What they're saying is, I've got the love, say, of the sun and the light of the sun, and they want me to trade it for the light and the love of a candle. It's just because they don't know. They don't know the love and the bliss and the joy that I live in, and it's well intended. But I wouldn't trade it. There is nothing greater.
Well,
There's nothing greater.
You actually answered a question I was going to ask, because I was in a very depressed state when I came to the realization that there was nothing of this world that would make me happy, and I was in a place of contemplating suicide for a long time, for at least 6 months, and I guess the way I got out through the other side of that was that, I just imagined if I had committed suicide, if I was dead right now at this moment, I wouldn't have any worries about the world at all. and so I went, well, wait a minute, why don't I just assume that state of mind of not having any worries about the world and politics and wars and all the things that I can't do anything about, and I went, hey, wait a minute, I don't feel like committing suicide anymore. But what I was going to ask you, Dov, was I was going to ask, well, why is it I'm not feeling this overwhelming happiness, peace, and joy that Cindy is talking about? And you answered my question when you were talking about the ego. There must still be ego thoughts of inadequacy. Oh, look, I got a cat on my shoulder.
Me too.
There must be ego thoughts of inadequacy, that I'm still not good enough, or I'm not worthy, or something like that, and that must be what's still holding me back.
There is no two ways about it. We all have ego thoughts, and Jesus says in the Course of Miracles, he says, it doesn't mean that you can have no judgments before you enter the holy instant. He says it's just that you won't have any thoughts or judgments that you would keep. So when those thoughts come up for me, I just look at them and really smile. When I say you gotta laugh, I look at those thoughts and I call it laugh therapy. I'm looking at my own thoughts and I'm really like watching myself saying, look at that. Dov is having these thoughts again, the same old thoughts. You really gotta laugh. And he tells you in your gentle laughter, they're gonna heal. Because if I'm taking it seriously, I really think that these things are true. But if I can start to laugh at them, that's the beginning of awakening. You're laughing at at what it is that you used to take seriously and actually believe to be true, none of which is true, of course. You're giving meaning to the meaningless. So, you begin to start looking at yourself and being able to laugh while you're watching yourself going through this. You're actually watching yourself going through this. That's the awareness that everyone talks about, to be aware of awareness, to actually be aware that this is what you're doing to yourself. You're actually thinking thoughts that are totally false, and you can either believe them to be true or not. And that choice is yours.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For me, Alex, I was in excruciating pain, and I had suicidal thoughts. But I had, my father had committed suicide. I don't know if you know that or not. And I had promised him that it would not be for nothing. His suffering, family suffering, my suffering, didn't know what it meant, but vowed I would find out. And years later, in the middle of my own unrelated to him suffering, I came to zero tolerance. It's as David said, you can only suffer so much, and then you'll come to a point of you can't take it anymore. Some people commit suicide. It was out of the question for me, and I also wanted to feel good. I had made this switch into it was just zero tolerance for pain. I came to zero tolerance for pain, even though I had no idea how I was going to get out of it. And right in the middle of that pain, I stopped, and I heard, you can give yourself whatever you want. And I had been suffering with what I wanted and didn't have for weeks. And so, I can give myself, really? If that's true, well, what do I want? And if that's true, it's within me. So I turned within and I asked myself, what do I want? It's funny because I didn't even know the answer at first. It took some time. But when I found the answer, all the energy that was being used to suffer just flipped over into love, joy, peace instantly, right in that moment. And it was mind-blowing, because I used to believe the mind that said, you have to feel bad because da 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 da. And so what I learned was, I don't have to believe mind. And I learned that it's the thought itself that hurts, not the content about the thought, not any truth about the thought. No thoughts are true, actually, only experienced. No thoughts are true. They're only experienced. Which one do you want to experience? And so I learned to put my attention on a thought that I did want, whether or not I had the content or believed I had the content or would ever have the content. I put my attention on the thought that I wanted, and it felt good. That was it. And so I went around like that for weeks, and the joy and the bliss grew. I was marinating in it. I was seeking it. I was engaging it. And the thing about separation from God, it doesn't exist, number one, but because you believe it exists, you experience it, and it's painful. And, David said you don't have to do anything. That, on the one hand, it's true, you don't have to do anything because, you think you're seeking God. Well, you think God doesn't know where you are. The thing is, though, you've created the separation. So you have to undo the separation. And love can take you to a point, can take you so far, and then the divine love will take over. And you don't have anything more to do with it. It's just happening on its own. But people don't realize, they don't think that they can do this because of the happiness lie. We believe that things make us happy. Little things give us a little bit of happiness. Bigger things give us a little, bigger happiness. And big things give us a lot of happiness. That's how we function. And this is an unconscious belief most people are not aware of. The fact is that you're capable of so much more joy than you have lived or imagined for no reason. For completely, utterly no reason, because you have a body mind that is capable of it, is capable of divine love, and that's it. So if you experiment with this, even you might feel silly at first. I had the sensation of a divine lover. Some people have the sensation of a divine mother or father. Whatever relationship format you choose is perfect. And then you engage in that, and you seek it, and eventually you will lose yourself in it. and separation will dissolve.
Can you give me an example? Because so I'll give you an example on my end. Like if I want to do some office paperwork, I've been trying to scan in a bunch of paperwork and then shred it. But whenever I do that, my back starts hurting, and even an hour of that, I'm in pain, and it's just, I guess I just don't like it. It's monotonous. It's tedious. I don't know. But I don't want to do it anymore because I experience physical pain from doing it for some reason. And so I'm just wondering, how can someone do something that would typically cause them pain and suffering, that's just a chore of life that you have to do the dishes, clean the house, do the laundry, things like that, and still have this happiness and joy in your life about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's exactly what I did. It didn't matter where I went or what I was doing. I was enjoying it. I mean, you're going to do what you're going to do, right? The only question is, what state are you going to be doing it in? And so when you have thoughts that come up like, I don't like it, it's tedious, it's, what was the other word?
Boring.
some pretty not good feeling thoughts there that you're believing. There's no such thing as a tedious or boring task. There's only a tedious or boring thought.
Okay.
See, every moment has this richness in it because this is life. But if you're not going to notice that this is life, when all of your power of attention is focused and condensed down onto thought like, I don't like this, it's tedious, yeah. No. So what you're doing is you're adding mental emotional suffering on top of a physical pain. And they're two different things. And that's why it said that pain is mandatory, suffering is optional.
Well, I don't want the pain either.
Well, pain actually isn't all that bad. It's only because there's been confusion of what is physical pain and what is mental, emotional, psychological pain. And when the two separate, you find that it's manageable. I mean, the body is giving you pain for a reason. It's got a message for you. We should be paying attention to it. I have a herniated disc in my back. So, and part of the reason for that is because I sat at the desk for too long in poor posture for many years, not paying attention to the pain in the back. Yeah. All right? And so now I live with that. Also, there were two other accidents. I was hit from behind. And none of that mattered since the discovery of joy within. Because even when I was hit from behind and I was strapped down onto the board in the ambulance and being taken to find out if I'd ever walk again, there was joy. There was no fear. Because there were no thoughts that were fearful.
And do you still experience pain in your back, and how do you manage that?
Yeah, I do. And but it's not, actually it's much better now because I've been paying attention to the back. Now, I don't sit for hours on end, and I do sit properly, and I've got a standing desk. I just recently converted my desk, and that made a huge difference because standing is better for you than sitting by far. But it's always there. It's never gone, but it's never a problem. Another example I can give you is that one night I took an iron pill with some orange juice at the same time on an empty stomach. And I started to feel this pain in the stomach. And this was shortly after I discovered the joy. And I started then to have this nausea feeling. And the thought, you see, the thought was predominant. And the thought was, oh, I think I'm nauseous too. And I went, wait. Okay, I'm going to experiment with this, play with this. And I went and I laid down. And I started into what I call a feel-good fast. And I asked myself, what do I want? And I put my attention on what I wanted, which was to feel healthy. And I tell you, it was most amazing, this fog of mental, emotional suffering. It was almost visceral. It was almost, tangible. It dissolved and it lifted. And I was left with a little pain in the stomach. But I didn't get sick. I fell asleep. I slept well. It was gone the next morning. Most of our pain that we think is physical is mental. And the mental pain is a lot worse than the physical. And if we are absorbed in the mental pain, we are not paying attention to the physical pain, and we're not doing the things that we need to do to take care of the body properly.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Great, you're welcome.
I would also thank you so much for that, Cindy. What you were saying kind of reminds me of Robin Busfield's story, which I happened to mention, I think, either today or yesterday. Robin Busfield was here in the room, and maybe Alex, the next time she's here, which actually today she was here, I think at 4 o'clock. I wasn't here, I guess. But and she's here on Wednesday, and she told a story about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, I'm not sure.
By the way, Dov, just mute your Pal Talk and you won't get that echo back.
I did mute Pal Talk. I did.
Weird. I guess it's because you're not using a headset. That's probably why. It's okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm not using a headset. You're right. I just completely closed Pal Talk. You hear anything or no?
Yeah, you're good.
I completely closed it.
Yeah. Still getting an echo?
Are you still getting an echo? Well, part of the time for that, I'm not wearing a headset.
Right, yeah.
I'm not wearing a headset. Anyway, just to speak on the Robin story, she was focusing on, I need do nothing, I need do nothing. And she said to Holy Spirit, you know, I'm focusing on I need do nothing. And yet I have a day where I have to do house chores, and they have to be done. Because I gave my word to do these house chores. She says, how can I do both? I need do nothing and do the house chores also. And she said the answer came to her from Spirit almost instantly. Focus on I need do nothing, and then go about doing the things that you think you have to do for house chores. She said that day she experienced that it was effortless. There was no effort in doing any of the house chores. It wasn't boring. It wasn't anything tedious. It was none of that stuff, because her mind was, I need do nothing. Now, we've heard so many teachers coming through here, whether it's Byron Katie or no matter who it is, I'm not the doer. And when you begin to develop trust is, I need do nothing. That's what trust is. That it's being given to me and through me, and it's flowing, I'm in the flow. You actually begin to experience that it's being done through you. You're not the doer anymore. You're not the doer. So you have to really be present in the present moment. Everyone talks about being present and having a present love. But when you're thinking, well, I don't want to do this because, exactly as Cindy says, when we fill our mind with the thoughts of tedious and a lot of effort, it is tedious and it's a lot of effort. We're actually talking ourselves down. But when I say I need do nothing, you're actually saying, let me step back, Holy Spirit, I need do nothing, and show me the way. And if you're here in every moment of now, and you're not thinking of, oh, I got 15 more minutes to go, or something like that, or you know, I've been doing this for an hour, anything that brings you back into time. And instead of being in time, you're in eternity, in the present now. You find that those things that used to be boring are not boring anymore. They really aren't. When you're speaking from your heart, you never look at the clock ever. You really don't. It's just all flowing through you.
Yeah, I can back that up. My experience now is that I see things happening. I see them getting done. And I remember there used to be a dialogue before this, you know, stream of thinking that would be, well, I don't want to do that right now. You know, I'd rather do that. Or, you know, there'd be some resistant thought that I'd be believing. And that just doesn't happen. I just look back and I go, oh, look, that got done and that got done. But be easy on yourself, though, Alex, because that didn't really come until after what I call the direct seeing and the realization of who I am, because you've got this thought going around, you know, I need to do something or I need to do nothing. Who's the I, you see? As long as there's an I present, there's going to be some struggle with this. I need to do, I don't need to do. There's I. And the I is the root of the problem. And after the direct seeing, I did a lot of self-inquiry to discover who and what this I was and wasn't. And it was only since then that things really were effortless, that I just noticed them happening, that I wasn't the doer you know, or believing that I'm the doer, because I'm never the doer. The universe is happening, is unfolding, is moving, is changing, whether I have anything to say about it or not. It's all happening. I think the funniest analogy I heard to me was, you know, these people get on a great big ship. And they're going, you know, across the ocean, and they're on this big ship, and it's got these big engines, you know, one of these ships, right? And they get on there, and then they start paddling. Okay, guys, let's go. We got to paddle. No. You don't need to paddle. You can just drop the paddles. You can drop the luggage. You can drop everything, because it's all unfolding, with or without this sense of you, this false I. And that's what the true ego is, at the essence, not the conventional ego of, you know, I'm bigger than you, or I need to be better than you, or I got David waving at me. Are we up for time? Are we turning into a pumpkin here? Are we?
Yes, we're at 10 o'clock, and it's time to turn over to Barbara Siegel.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Alex, for inviting us. Thank you.
Actually, you know what? Let me hold on a second. Yeah, we got Barbara Siegel in the room. So, okay, I'll go ahead and turn the mic over to Barbara Siegel. David and Cindy, I'll stay here in the chat with you guys if you want to continue.
Okay, sure.
All right. All right,
Thank you.
This mic is going over to Barbara. Thank you very much, guys. Okay, we should be good.
No, that was neat.
Yeah, that was fun.
I didn't know that was possible.
I don't know, it just popped in my head because I had done it with Skype. And I thought, well, oh, hold on, Barbara's asking a question. Hold on. Can't you turn the speakers off? Okay, so Barbara's asking, hold on one second. Barbara's asking if we want to go for another half hour, I guess.
No.
Okay, all right, let me let her know.
I must leave, yeah. Thank you so much, Alex, truly. Can I ask for a favor? If your room has been open, unless you close it a couple of times, can you send me the text on the whiteboard for today? Send it over to Dove Peace. Oh,
sure, yeah, because you closed it out. I understand.
Yeah, I appreciate it, because I do save it every single day, believe it or not.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I'd love to figure out how to do that. Do you just copy and paste, or do you just have a log file?
Yeah, I copy and paste, but if you look in the upper left-hand corner, it says File, and you click. It's a menu. You can do the RTF, I think it is, or you can just do it in regular text. I'll take the regular text. The RTF comes out in color. The text leaves out all the smileys on it.
Okay. So you like it in text or RTF?
Text, yeah. But copy and paste, it literally only takes a minute, 30 seconds to do copy and paste.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
And just send it as a private message. It goes as a private message over at Dove Peace. Thank you so much. And if you ever find that thing with Daniel Shy and myself from yesterday, I don't know if you had a chance to look.
Oh, Daniel Shy. What time was it?
He was on at 12 noon. That's 9 a.m. your time.
Okay. All right. I'll take a look, see if I can find it.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I was on the hour after. So we were on 2 hours, his hour and my hour.
So you need both files?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much, Cindy. And I'll talk to Larry about joining you on the next session.
All right. Thanks so much, David. Loved hearing you as usual.
Thank you, Cindy.
Okay.
Thanks, Alex.
All right. Bye.
Bye.